Hey guys, it is Dan and Merlin, aka Joe.
It's true.
And, we're here to talk about Frasier once again.
What a surprise.
We did so much
Why?
with the Frasier. But, what's interesting is because of the COVID stuff, the last like 5 or 6 Frasier Fridays we did were over Zoom.
It's true.
So we didn't actually ever come together and do like a
Wrap up.
series wrap up. Not really.
No.
So we came up with the idea of picking. Now that we're going to my theater that I work at, we're kind of closed now, so we're not running movies. So we just bring our DVDs and throw them whatever we want. So we came up with this idea to watch some Frasier on the big screen.
Which is a great idea, but
Pick some of our favorites.
is there anything that doesn't deserve big screen treatment now?
There's not many. In our book, we've done OC. We've done some real terrible movies.
Good Wife soon.
Good Wife. We'll be doing Good Wife very soon.
I'm putting it out
Not
there
for the
officially.
channel, I don't think, but well,
I don't know,
we don't
man.
know.
It's up to you.
I talk about the Good Wife, but I wore my special Frasier shirt for the occasion.
I love it. Did I ever
This
see
is-
that before?
No, this is brand new. I got it the
Nice.
day I bought the OC hamburger shirt.
Now all you
so-
need is that Karate Kid one.
I
You've got the
know.
obscure stuff.
So I didn't own this when we were doing Frasier before, but this came up as like a suggestion
I'm
when I
listening.
bought the OC shirt, and I was like, "Well, that's perfect. I love a good Frasier."
That is
It's
great.
the Frasier I'm listening toward '97, and it's got them on like the leather clad stuff. Very good.
And the most important characters.
Yeah, I mean, the top five.
Top 5 cast.
Top five. So we are not going to rank any of these, but we picked 10 episodes that we think reflect the best of Frasier,
Yeah.
the best of the characters, and there were definitely some things that we didn't get to cover that I think we'll kind of mention. Like there's no Niles party episode where there's a
No.
big party at his house. Some of those are great. There's no BB episode in here.
Surprisingly, yeah.
And there's no episodes really focused on Niles and Daphne as a couple.
Or Roz didn't have too many centered
Or
ones.
Roz. But, what I love about the ones we picked is, I should say, that they really focus on the three main, Crane men. And
The Crane boys.
almost every episode did have a Roz or Daphne subplot.
Uh-huh.
Or they were certainly like a part of it in some way.
At least a good part. Yeah. Not wasted.
No, not wasted. And I think personally, that's how I like my Frasier to be. I mean, if you'll remember all the Frasier Friday season wrap ups we did, I mean, some of my least favorite episodes were Niles and Daphne centric.
Yeah.
Or Roz and Bulldog centric. And they're great characters.
Yeah.
And I definitely do like, the wedding episode where Niles and Daphne, run off together and all of that. Like that was obviously a great Niles Daphne moment. We had talked about the episode where Frasier is all drugged up on the pain pills and reveals to Daphne that Niles is a thing for him. Like that was great. But I think these episodes really showcase what is best about this show.
And certainly what we like best about it.
Yeah. I mean, look, Frasier, the character,
Yes.
is so great and so funny that he almost inevitably has to be at the center of any
I guess so.
of the best of Crane.
I guess so, yeah.
And what's interesting is, to sort of jog my memory, I pulled up 3 different lists online. I think they may have all been from the same site. It was either like Cracked or one of those sites that just does a bunch of lists. But one was the top 10 funniest Frasier episodes, the 10 best Frasier episodes, and then one was the best episode from each season. And several of the ones I was already thinking of were on these lists.
Huh.
So I was like, okay, I think these
There's
are
a
all
consensus.
yeah, I think there's a consensus. And what's that site that you introduced me to where they
Oh.
do the episode rankings?
Just the graphing.
Yeah.
I forget what the Graph TV, I think, is what it used to be called. Might be something else.
Okay.
It's a fan site where they rank all the IMDb scores.
I'll
for
find the
things.
link and put it in the description.
It's a
but
fun site, isn't it?
It's a great site, and it takes, like you said, all the IMDb grades
It's like
and puts them
what
in.
what people think about certain episodes.
Yeah.
It doesn't always line up with what you think.
No, for example, the finale is ranked very high because for a finale, it's great.
Yeah.
But would I consider it one of the best of Frasier?
No,
No.
not at
Now, it might be in a top 10 best finales.
Maybe.
But top 10 Frasier episodes out of 200 plus episodes, not for me.
No, I don't think so.
But it's ranked very high because people expect less, I think, from a finale. You know.
Yeah, it was a surprise. It's true.
But several of the episodes we picked are very high on that ranking. So I was like, okay, I really think we have a good sort of idea here.
Yeah.
And we didn't repeat too many ideas. Like we had one Lilith episode. We had one episode very centered around the radio station.
Yes.
You know, one of your picks was a Frasier and Niles focused episode.
Yes.
Another one was focused very much on Frasier himself out of his element. You know, so it's like we got a little bit of everything.
The different tropes they go for. Because it's a sitcom, so they do repeat certain things quite a bit. We noticed a lot of episodes.
Well, and as we watched, we would name one or two others. Oh, this could kind of fill in for this too.
And the funny thing, I think one of the best things, I mean, I guess this would almost skip to the conclusion of the episode in a way, but that I liked about watching them was we got an excuse to watch Frasier again.
Of course.
Made you realize, why I like the show as a reminder, but you're reminded of all those other episodes and that there are so many good ones. Yeah. We were joking like there's too many. We could easily do a couple.
We could easily do 2 or 3 10 best, and you'd still be.
We could probably do a top 40 Frasier.
You actually could.
Would be more definitive.
So I think I'll just go down the list.
Sure.
One by one we can kind of pick them apart.
Sure.
But I'm going to read the list as full, and we just went in order of their release, chronological order. So we saw the hairline receding as we went.
The mullet.
So, and some seasons aren't represented at all, and
oddly,
there's a couple that are represented more than once.
Yeah.
So
I guess by default, our favorite seasons probably.
I would agree with that.
Probably
actually, based on some of these. So, okay, from season 1, episode 22, author. From season 2, episode 3, the matchmaker. Season 4 has 2 of them. Episode 7, a Lilith Thanksgiving and a ham radio. Episode 5 has 2 of them. The 1000th show and the Ski Lodge, episode 14.
Great.
Which is the number 1 ranked on IMDb, the Ski Lodge.
Nice.
Episode 12 from season 7, Road Warrior. Episode 12 from season 8. The Show Must Go Off. And then 2 from season 9, episode 7, Blazy Boy, and episode 16, Wheels of Fortune. Nothing from the last 2 seasons, but ones that we did talk about. Yes. One you had mentioned was the one where they find the skull and they try to do the Crane Boys mystery.
Thought about that one.
And we talked about the Patrick Stewart episodes. Both of those are in final seasons.
Yes, that we would have loved to talk about.
So let's go through it. I mean, obviously, if you were a fan of our Frasier Fridays, you've heard us talk about these episodes before. But
shut up already.
We're going to sort of talk about what we like the most about the episode and that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The first one was a Joe pick.
It was.
Episode 22 from the first season, author. This is when they are tasked with writing a book about siblings. They're both psychologists. They want to do it from a psychology perspective, and they are having some trouble with it.
Because they have, sibling rivalry they can't get over, and it's that classic, these guys that are so informed and educated, are making their own mistakes.
Yeah, can't figure it out.
It's classic Frasier. I
love these episodes where they really go head to head.
It's like stuff we'll cover in a lot of these other ones, but I like that personal angle. And I think it's been referenced by you, but that's probably my favorite recurring trope in Frasier is the sibling rivalry.
Okay.
The relationship between the brothers, I really like their dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's probably also the chemistry with the actors. I like them both quite a bit. Niles and Frasier are both iconic, and I love it when they go head to head, always trying to top each other, which we'll see more of that later. But them kind of, obviously Niles being jealous of his fame, but also Frasier kind of being jealous of Niles' respect within the academic community.
The accolades.
Within the psychiatric community. It's like Frasier's not taking that seriously in places he'd like to be. So they're both kind of insecure in different ways.
Yeah.
And this episode kind of has them fight, and I love I love that slow descent. They start off so confident, and then by the end, trapped in that room with the deadline, they just start attacking each other.
They start with just that first sentence, and then
we can start with,
and then they keep nitpicking at it.
Would you?
One changes it.
It's like, what do you think? It's interesting. Is it good? Well, no. If you want to be good, rather than start with this, you're a good one.
Right. It depends if you want an interesting opening or a good one.
And then from then on, it just gets worse. And then I think that scene where they're strangling each other on the bed, like trying to kill each other,
realizing that
it's
like
like,
it's
this is-
over,
and
it's
like,
not going to happen.
And Frasier's like, "You stole my mommy," and it's like, whoa, like
Right.
clearly deep-seated
Yeah.
issues from childhood that haven't been resolved. Classic Frasier.
Which, of course, we see many times over. In the whole series.
And that also that I think I've said to you, Niles. I guess Frasier is probably the best character, and you can make cases. For
I think
all
Frasier
of
or
them.
Martin probably.
But Frasier or Martin.
Yeah.
But I've always said that I might like Niles the best. Frasier specific for his arc.
Yeah.
I think he has the best developed arc because starts off snobby, a-hole, kind of Frasier but the worst, and then becomes a better, more loose person. And I love his writing for Niles for that, and I like that rivalry, and I also like it because of the just that feeling of trying to write and having the writer's block at the beginning. I've been there before with the blank page. I get it.
Yeah.
So it speaks to me personally.
And the fact that this was such an early episode. That they had their characters so down. And now, of course, Frasier comes from a different show. But
everybody.
Frasier is a much different character here than he was in Boston on Cheers. And they sort of had that slow descent in the final season of Cheers when he does, a suicide attempt, which does get referenced in the show. I think actually in one of the episodes we watched. I think.
Wait.
I forget which one. Maybe Frasier craned it? I don't remember. But in any event, he talks about that. And so, but his character here is very different from where he was in Cheers. So yes, he was a character from before, but there's a lot of changes because of his environment and all of that kind of stuff. But the Niles character, of course, is brand new. So the fact that they had this connection right away in that first season,
and I remember
great.
you pointing that when we were doing Frasier Fridays was that you liked how well established it was right away.
The pilot, I mean, is one of the great sitcom pilots in my opinion. It establishes everybody immediately without resorting to caricature. They're almost completely well-defined characters just in that first episode. First episode, I should say. All right, so let's move on here. The Matchmaker, episode 3 from season 2. Now, we realized we had to put a gay episode in there. You have the Patrick Stewart episode in the final season.
Yes.
You have the episode where Frasier's trying to get with the girl at the opera, and her dad is gay, so Martin pretends he's gay to distract, and then pretends that Niles is the boyfriend, which is very funny.
Very good.
But we agreed that the ultimate is this episode, The Matchmaker, where the new station manager is gay, unbeknownst to Frasier. He's trying to hook Daphne up. The opening scene is, with Daphne lamenting she has no man and this and that.
Classic, yeah.
And so Frasier is trying to do a good thing. He and Roz are in a bit of a fight. So Roz finds out that the station manager is gay after Frasier invited him to dinner, and still she went along with it, right?
Yeah.
And one of our favorite parts in the whole series really is when we hear Martin's big belly laugh from the kitchen.
That's
when
really
Niles tells him. So this is really one of the first true farcical episodes, I think.
Frasier loves a good farce.
Frasier loves a good farce. I love a good farce.
Me too.
And so I commend them for it. But this is one of the first ones where it's like all this sort of mistaken identity going on, and this person thinks this, and this person thinks that. The Eric Lutz, I think, is the actor who played the stage manager.
I was gonna say it's because of this guy.
Great.
If it wasn't for this guy, he sells it so well.
And the character is great too.
Oh yeah,
because he goes
real person. He's not a character.
Thank you.
And would you think he's gay? No,
it's hard to tell.
That's why.
And one of the great jokes in this episode is that
I thought you were.
He found it hard to believe that Frasier wasn't gay.
Oh, Martin,
and then that Martin wasn't
Niles.
gay, and then that Niles isn't gay.
So plays with your expectations,
Yes.
which is the. There's a lot of kind of ahead of its time commentary.
Yeah.
For Frasier, good stuff.
I mean, listen, back in this would have been in the fall of 95, gay characters did not exist on TV, really.
In this way, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit maybe as a punchline, but this is not a punchline at all.
No, it's he kind of comes out on top.
Yeah. Well, and it speaks to, we talked about this when we watched it, but, the majority of the male actors on this show are gay in real life.
Which I find fascinating.
David Hyde Pierce, John Mahoney, who played Martin, and Dan Butler, who plays Bulldog, which is the most bizarre.
Wow,
Because what a womanizer on the show. But all gay in real life. So you have to imagine, obviously, they're going to handle this material with
care
and
intelligence, and
it works out.
I think you can learn a lot about judging people and expectations about really from Frasier.
And I think this is one of the few episodes that was on all three of the lists: funniest Frasier, best episodes of each season, and top 10 episodes.
Well, that's a pretty good one.
It's a very good one. I think we chose right.
Like, when I go by my memory, I was going mostly by my personal preferences. We both kind of were.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe that's the right place for best. I don't know.
I think so.
Seems to be the consensus so far.
So then we jump to season 4. Not that there's anything wrong with season 3. Great episodes, of course, but
Truth comes out.
top 10s maybe not. But we decided we have to do a Lilith episode.
Have to.
And we agreed completely on which one it was going to be.
We did. We did.
Lilith Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
This is where not only Frederick gets kind of tossed around
Martin and Niles.
from Martin and Niles, but
our guest got the biggest laugh from this episode.
yeah, he really loved this episode.
Yeah.
We brought a friend with us to watch it who was familiar.
He likes Frasier.
He likes Frasier, but maybe hadn't seen all the episodes or whatever.
Not
But
an
he liked it enough, and he was howling at many of these episodes.
Loved it,
but this one really got him. And so the big reason we chose this one is because they are trying to get their son on the wait list,
prestigious school,
into the Marbury School.
Yes.
And so they go to this guy's house, the dean of students or whoever, and just keep bothering him, second guessing themselves after each event.
Digging
so
their-
they go back. And they come back to the house and keep saying, "Oh, everything is for our son. We love our son so much." Meanwhile, they're completely missing that he's got a black eye and a bloody nose.
Classic Frasier, just missing what's right in front of you.
Oblivious.
Yeah.
Just hilarious.
Over analyzing things.
Early Jane Lynch too.
Early Jane Lynch.
see.
Yeah. No.
It's what makes this one the best of the Lilith episodes, because she's been in some great ones. She appears usually once or twice a season.
The thing about, if I remember correctly, I think we really loved all the Lilith episodes.
Many of them, yes.
They were really all pretty good.
Yeah.
And I could have...
I think this is the funniest.
Yes.
For one thing.
Other ones are a bit more dramatic, a bit more character stuff with her and Frasier.
Mm-hmm.
But this is probably the funniest. I think it's because it's got that good balance, right? It's got their connection, what they work best with together, why they didn't work out. Brings out the best and worst qualities in each other, how they care about their Frederick.
I was going to say, it also proves that they really are
have their
devoted parents
to their son,
regardless of their own differences.
And that's the great thing about both of them.
Yeah.
And
great Oscar Mayer joke.
All their ridiculous like stories about why they have to come back and just.
Right.
But all right, they work well together with their chemistry, but also just the dean, his comeback.
He's great.
That guy was
just like a stoic.
British, dry,
sort of stuck up,
very snooty, but he was fantastic.
Right.
And the fact that they keep making things worse and pretty much destroy his that escalation that happens a lot in Frasier.
Yeah.
And also the B plot is funny.
The B plot is very funny too. But you're right about the escalation, because that's something that I don't think we touched on really too much in our weekly reviews. But
that's all that the farce is, but everything, the misunderstandings.
A lot of the Frasier episodes do have that sort of build up, and maybe it is farcical, but this is not a farce episode.
No, but that's that same
but
sort of writing.
But a lot of them still build up that way. Like one of the other ones I think we're going to talk about later on, involving an actor that they're trying to make a career for. That's not really a farce either, but again, that's a lot of escalation to...
And it could be solved with a simple solution,
right.
And they make it worse by trying to fix it.
Right.
And that's classic Frasier.
Yep. So I love that. And speaking of overdoing it and ramping things up, one of my picks was Ham Radio from the same season, episode 18. And this is where they have a classic murder mystery from the early days of KACL, the 40s or 50s or something, that Frasier wants to recreate. So he gathers the whole cast. One of the reasons I picked this one is because there had to be a radio
station
cast-centric episode.
Definitely.
Because all these characters are great.
Great side characters.
Yeah. Gil Bulldog, Noel. Yeah. They're all really great side
Kenny,
characters.
Though, sadly, this time.
None of our episodes actually had Kenny.
I felt bad about
which
that.
Was a bummer, because he's a great character.
I like Kenny, yeah.
He is a great one. But
shout out to Kenny.
Shout out to Kenny. But again, like BB as well, great character.
Yeah,
but we
nothing
just
against
didn't have room
BB.
for.
Yeah, there'll be another one. This will happen again.
This one for me, I thought about a few different radio ones. I love the Dr. Mary episode is great.
I like both the Dr. Marys.
The Radio Wars one where they have the morning show pranking him all the time. Like that's a great one. But this to me was and one that you had brought up was the theme song.
My runner-up,
where he wants to
similar,
and that would have been a Kenny episode actually, but Kenny wants him to do a quick jingle, and he does this big orchestration with 38 members, and it's 3 minutes long, whatever.
That's a good one.
But this one,
special mention,
is definitely special mention. But I love the escalation of this.
This is a better pick.
You know, it involves everybody in the show so great, and even Martin, who's not involved at all with the ham radio play, has some bits because they're listening to it. Him and Daphne are listening to it. And he's just like, man, I don't remember these being so confusing.
These twists, like, man, it's becoming a bloodbath. He's into it.
He loves it. Because what happens is, of course, Frasier gets too big for his own britches. Falls apart because he alienates every single person in the cast.
He's doing what he thinks is best to make it the best production, and he becomes arrogant and destroys it, makes it far worse.
Right, far worse.
It's that actor, that voice actor, that professional one.
Oh, yeah.
He just drives him away. Thought my Irishman was too Protestant. Like,
too Protestant.
Like, that was just...
and the only person that stays with him is Noel doing the sound effects.
Good old Noel. It says a lot about his character right there.
Yeah, Noel's through and through. And speaking of, another Lilith episode that we did definitely talk about.
Man, couldn't get Star Trek into
was the Klingon.
The Klingon bar mitzvah is a classic Frasier.
That's a great Frasier and Noel episode.
Probably, is that the best Noel episode? Or I feel like he probably has a couple other good ones, but that's like the.
That's definitely up there. So that was one that we definitely talked about.
Definitely, we brought that up.
But anyway, this one to me, and I worked in radio, so I of course remember all of these things where it's like, well, it's live radio. At the end of the thing, he messes it up so much they have like 8 minutes to spare. It's like, so he's got to try to fill this dead space. I think it's a great episode, and it really does reflect the camaraderie about all of the station people. So I knew we had to get one of the station episodes in there.
Look,
I thought about a CB's too. There's some good CB's episodes. We didn't have
the Bulldog one's great, where he's lying.
The Bulldog one where he pretends to be hero is great. The one where the bishop is out to sea and
you love
lost
that
at
joke.
sea and Frasier doesn't know.
He's lost at sea. Don't use that as a joke. But as we're going through these, I'm getting the same feeling. I want to watch them again.
These episodes particularly, or
just in general? I would watch these all again now and still enjoy it today.
Frasier really is
a good show.
One of the top 10, I think, of all time. We talked last week about Freaks and Geeks when we did the finale. That's in my top 10 of all time. That's probably true. Frasier definitely is.
I never knew I liked Frasier. Like, I knew I liked Frasier, but like it's one of those ones I don't think about as much, but I do love this show.
Yeah. What's funny is, when I was growing up, just as a side note, I was such a Cheers fanatic. That was my favorite show growing up. But looking back, I've only watched Cheers once through probably in the last 20 years.
Oh, wow.
I've watched Frasier at least 4 or 5 times since it went off the air in 2004.
Wow.
I watched Frasier probably every other year.
See,
and as a person who always follows new TV, I don't watch a lot of rerun TV anymore.
A lot of episodes, yeah.
No, every so often I'll pick I pick one show at a time or two to go through. Like I did Raymond last year, but Frasier is one that comes up probably every other year. I just want to rewatch it. It holds up.
It really, I think it's because the jokes are very timely.
Jokes are very timely.
It's not too dated like the every occasional Austin
Powers reference. It's not really dated at all. But one of the things we're going to talk about next in your pick, which is actually your all-time favorite episode,
it is,
speaks to not just the humor, but the heart of this character and the show. And that's the 1000th show.
Yeah.
Which is when Frasier
Crane Day.
It's Frasier Crane Day because he's celebrating his 1000th episode on the show, doing his radio show, and it's really in reality the 100th episode of the TV show.
Yeah.
So it's the 1000th episode of his radio show. They do Frasier Crane Day, but he can't get there.
Yeah, that's probably an episode that I'll admit, like,
I always go back to it.
It is my favorite one because I think I think it's the situation is something. Once again, I like Frasier out of his element, and I think I remember.
I'm talking about out of his element. It's all shot on the streets, which we'd never see.
I remember when we talked about it the first time we watching it. Like this was the first time I can remember they got a little experimental. They shot outside. Right. They had more action scenes.
Yeah,
it was cool. I liked that, and it was beautifully shot and just technically. But I really liked the dynamic once again with Niles and Frasier. You see some of the rivalry, but we learn a lot about Frasier as a person. And how he wants to be humble, but he really does want the attention.
Right.
He likes the validation, and I think it's very relatable.
This is a great Roz episode too. She's definitely supporting, but she's kind of stalling for time.
And Martin's speech is funny.
Martin's speech is great. I think this one gives everybody a little bit of time to shine. Bulldog's in it.
Bulldog is in it. Everybody has something to do, but I mostly just love, obviously the trying to get there to the speech and not being able to keep messing up. There's great comedy there. I guess just some great physical comedy too, but really it's the ending.
The ending
is
what cements this episode.
Like, if it wasn't for that, I don't know if it would be my favorite.
Yeah, like, if the end of the episode happens, like he makes it
at the end. Like it was really cool. Like, as we were watching, and our friend was like, "Oh, like, is he going to get it?" Because he didn't remember.
Right.
So it's kind of cool to get to see him, not see the ending of these. But it could have been nice to have him get there at the very end and say thank you. And it could have been a nice ending, and maybe it wouldn't be what he wanted.
This was much better.
This was like so much to the point of Frasier.
Yeah.
With the limo guy's there. He's going to give him a ride after he abandons Niles. Like, he'll be fine. After they got mugged. So after stealing money from a blind.
They stole
and they get attacked by little girls. Yeah.
But he's in the cab and realizes, oh, by the way, I'm going to have to owe you for this ride. Like, I can't pay you.
That's fine. It's on me.
Right. The taxi driver's like, oh, it's fine. Whatever. And then he gets to talking about some of the stuff in his life.
Like with his son, divorce, and Frasier can relate. And
they get there.
They get there. Okay, you go to your thing, and Frasier's so invested in wanting to help this guy and listen and be the counselor, and why not? And that's who Frasier really is at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's what's funny. Like we talk a lot about really the craziness of Frasier, and that he's
but the grounded stuff is
psychiatrist with like no
self-awareness,
and everything he does is just so over the top. But
there's a lot
at
of
his core, he is a kind human being. That he got into the business to help.
Yes.
The whole I'm listening thing.
I'm listening.
It's not just a slogan.
It's who he really is.
It's who he really is.
And we didn't get too many episodes, unfortunately, of him actually helping people in the station.
No.
But this kind of sums all that up there, because even outside of the station.
Yeah.
And that he just did it for free. No one's going to care, but he'll feel good about it.
Yeah, nobody will know.
He
didn't even tell the guy. He didn't even tell the guy,
who he was.
This thing is for me. I'm Frasier Crane. No.
Didn't know he was.
None of it. Yeah. And so I thought that was,
beautiful,
it's a great ending.
Beautiful moment. I loved that.
So it's a good favorite episode.
It is. And Real Frasier Crane Day, they had 2 or 3.
And Real Frasier Crane Day, which they showed us at the end.
Yeah.
So then we move to my all-time favorite episode.
Yeah.
And
which is really good, too.
Look, this is also
could be the best.
Always among the tops. It's the only episode in TV Guide's top 100 episodes of all time from Frasier.
Oh, wow.
And it is the Ski Lodge. And, what's great about this one is it is 100% farce. This one doesn't have the emotional punch of the 1000th
A little
episode.
bit, in a different way.
Maybe a little bit. But, and another gay episode.
Another gay.
Secret gay. Some secret gay. And just the setup at the beginning of this episode with Martin not being able to hear because of some issues he's having.
What?
Translates the rest of the episode because every single person is on a different page at the ski lodge with who wants who and who's sneaking off with whom. And it's the most perfectly done farce on a half-hour show I've ever seen.
Best I've ever seen.
Cheers did a few good ones. Woody's Wedding was a great one, although that was a 2-parter, so that was an hour. But and Frasier really, we talk about this all the time with the farce. They do great with it. And I didn't really know what farce was until I took a theater class in high school. I didn't quite understand, that it has to do with people miscommunication, people going in and out of different rooms all the time and
missing each other
and all of that. And this is executed so perfectly.
I wonder how many times they had to rehearse this.
Oh my, probably a ton to get everything just right. And of course, it all builds to this great crescendo at the end where Frasier realizes nobody wanted
get with
him the whole time, where all these miscommunications.
And that's very Frasier too, because he's got all the women problems.
Right. It's very Frasier. And it's very Frasier with the self-obsession.
So it's like he thought all like the women were into him.
He thought everybody was into him, and nobody was.
Nobody was. That's hilarious. Yeah.
And so this always ranks high, and really,
that's a great choice, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't quite touch on some of the emotional stuff as some of these other episodes,
but in terms of like pure comedy,
yeah,
it's hard to beat this one.
And I think this is one of the best episodes in terms of like, if somebody never saw Frasier before, you could put this episode on. They don't really need to know anything about the characters.
What's going on?
It's perfectly scripted, perfectly acted and directed. So this is my favorite of the episodes.
Sure.
But good up choice. Next is another one of mine that does have an emotional ending. I wanted to pick a really great Crane Men episode, and we talked about a few different ones.
Yeah,
the one with the ice fishing that is an early episode.
Dukes.
The one where Dukes is about to close.
Mm-hmm.
These are great episodes. You mentioned the one where Niles shoots the basketball.
Basketball, yeah.
That's a great one. But I picked Road Warrior or Road Warrior. As really pronounced,
Road Warrior,
because and this is something that's so funny because we get the early sort of foreshadowing of this episode in the one episode that we let our buddy Alex pick out. We were showing him all these episodes. We were like, you could pick one of your favorites.
His pick was pretty good too.
And his pick was when they go on the Antiques Roadshow and they think there's art. But at the end, with the money he got from the vase or whatever it was. He bought a Winnebago,
yeah.
And so here it comes up like 6 episodes later.
That was good. Continuity, I love it.
Great continuity. But this really is about the 3 men. Daphne is in it, I think, in the beginning. I don't know if Roz is in it at all. She might be in the beginning too. But it's them on the road trip. Some mistaken identity. Niles is tired when they stop at the Little Red Cabin for dinner. Gets in the wrong camper. Thinks that he's in their camper, but it was stolen.
They kidnapped him,
and he keeps calling Frasier.
Calls
but of course, Frasier thinks he's in the back because he's been so annoying, and would call from the back to have him slow down and stuff.
Yeah, car sick.
So then he ends up calling the police. The police pull over. I mean, it's another. It's almost farce again, and then a little bit.
Martin thinks he's got. We can get one over the cop. Calls him a name accidentally. Then he
calls
does
him
the Huey. Comes back around, bite him.
And this has some of our favorite comedy as well because we realized that Martin watched Austin Powers in the back and quotes him the entire episode.
Spy Who Shagged Me, right?
I think the first one. I think just the first one.
Oh, really?
But like they find out Niles is missing and he's just like, "Shag me, rotten. We got to get him."
Austin Powers craze is over.
So that was great. And what I love about this is the heart at the end.
Yeah.
They finally meet back up with Niles where they originated in the Little Red Cabin restaurant, but they realize, oh my God, if we can make it to the Pacific Coast, across state lines, we can make it back to midnight for New Year's, which they almost, they do. They do. Almost.
But they run out of gas.
They have to run out and cross the border, and then the wolves start howling. But the ending's great because it shows how far that they've come as a family. Since the beginning, because of course Frasier didn't even want Martin to move in, and something we'll actually cover in an upcoming episode about the lazy boy that we went with. But,
that's a great one.
But really, it's got a nice emotional center in this episode, but a lot of laughs as well.
Yeah, another great pick.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And then this next one of yours, and you really teetered between a few of these. The skull we mentioned, but once I reminded you of this one, you were like, "Oh, that's got to be in there." It is the actor called "The Show Must Go Off."
I think that might be the funniest gag for me in Frasier. I love that.
The overacting and
it gets me every time within the episode, and I feel like it's so simple, but I don't know why. It just works for me.
So this
it's the build-up too.
This is This is another concept that it sort of runs. There's probably one every season or two of this.
It's relatability to the situation.
Frasier and Niles try to, put something on, do something that ultimately completely backfires. The Innkeepers, which is where they run the restaurant, is a great example of this, and certainly one that I had thought of too. But they meet this actor that they loved from the Broadway stage or the London stage or whatever from back when they were kids, and it turns out he's known for the sci-fi now, and that's all he does. He does these conventions, so they want to mount a show for him, and it turns out he
is actually
stinks.
Horrible, which is why he's on the low budget sci-fi show,
which they never realized. And we sort of thought, like, it's sort of a nice gag when they pull out the old videotape.
There's just, and then
to
they
realize that he was always horrible.
It's nostalgia. Like, when you're a little kid, you're inspired, and you might not realize, like, wow, he actually, now that you can judge it better, he was really bad. But they don't want to tell him that, because in a weird way, he did inspire them, though.
Yeah.
Because they caught on to something.
But what's great about this episode, I think, for you specifically as a sci-fi fan...
Well, you see a lot of that.
We see a lot of that, but not only that, they blame sci-fi and badly written sci-fi shows for him losing his acting ability. And then they find out, oh, he was always horrible.
And there's an interesting commentary about fandom, too, and just, I guess, what you're good at, is that maybe he wasn't a good fit on that. But in these cheesy shows, he made a lot of people happy, and maybe found his stride. So it's, with the over-the-top stuff. So it's like, it's interesting, but because they're a bit more, cultured, they can't see that. So there's a little snub there.
And of course, it's them, so they're trying to
get him in his own
face.
Save him, too.
They at first try to save him, but then when they realize he's horrible, they have to try and save their face.
Try to get out of it.
Because, of course, they've,
mounted
this production and invested and told all their friends, like, oh, we're bringing back Jackson, whatever.
Yeah.
And so they, try to go against the fire codes. It's like you said, the escalation.
Yeah.
That always gets them in the end. So that was a great pick for you.
Thank you.
And then next, Blazy Boy.
Great
one. From season 9. This is one where another one sort of where Frasier is at odds with Martin. A recurring trope that we haven't really had any episodes so far.
And the chair is a common.
But the chair has come up since episode 1, being out of place. So the series of mishaps happens.
Like Martin almost being out of place for Frasier once in his life.
Weighing
down
there
the
it is. And it starts with this whole anniversary idea.
That they're a married couple.
We've been here for 8 years. Oh, by California law, you're basically a married couple now.
That's great when Niles is trying to have couples counseling with them. Is really
That's
great.
Right.
Why didn't he talk about that?
Yeah.
That's really
so this episode really is great. This was a great pick from you. And he starts just irritating Frasier more and more and more. Ruins the carpet by stomping on this
this
oil.
Was an accident. This is malicious. Just puts it on him.
And then the chair ends up getting caught on fire.
Then throw it off the
balcony. And then that becomes a recurring joke. Oh, if you don't like my coffee,
I know you
can just light it on fire, throw it off the balcony. Classic.
Very classic.
And this shows, I think, really the best of Martin. Martin has a lot of really funny episodes. I think the Austin Powers one is very funny.
Martin. He's the everyman.
He is the everyman.
If for some reason you couldn't completely get behind Frasier, you've got the guy making fun of him at every turn.
He's right. And he's such a.
But he's wise too, though.
We decided that
he's the guy with sense.
He might not have the degrees.
But he knows what's up.
But he has been through life.
Like
a lot more than these boys have, I think.
Just talked,
So he has great advice. And we see that here as well. But as an aside...
ending of the episode is also great.
Well, the ending episode is fantastic and heartfelt, and I love it. They start crying.
That was really good.
So good. Another emotional one. We didn't really talk about any episodes with the women of Martin, but he certainly had his romances through the years, which are fine. One of my favorites was the early one where he's looking through the telescope at the woman, and they sort of have a relationship through that because he's afraid that she'll see him with the cane and think that he's old and this and that. I thought that was a really good one, too.
I like the ones where he actually gets the job. I think it's later seasons.
I thought about that, too. Where he's the night security guard. He goes back to work. Those are great as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of great Martin-centric episodes, for sure.
Yes.
But I think this was a great pick. Him and Frasier's going at it is always hilarious. And then the final one, we both agreed we had to do this.
It just had to happen.
It's certainly one of my favorite episodes of all time.
It's a very good one.
I'm not sure. Probably maybe top 10 for you, top 15. I'm not sure if it's as high for you as me, but
Maybe not, but Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton
Can't
is
go wrong.
So
That's mostly
Frasier
why.
Frasier has excelled at the guest stars. I don't think they overdo it like some shows, but you've had many people. Some of them have been like the women of Crane.
Yeah.
But
Some big guest stars.
well, some of them have been on the radio with him. You had Dr. Nora, who was Christine Baranski from The Old Good Fight, of course. You had Felicity Huffman doing the business review show.
Renee Alger, I forget.
Oh yeah, all the Star
from
Trek people.
DS9.
Renee Odo from DS9.
Odo, yeah,
a
was
few
there.
episodes. Patrick Stewart, we talked about already.
Yeah.
But this one, Michael Keaton as, and it's just so brilliant.
Oh, Lumberg.
That Lumberg was on.
Yeah.
When he is Lilith's half brother. To have that connection right there is classic.
Yeah.
Because we already know all about Lilith.
We don't know much
But
about
we
this
don't know
guy.
anything
Why
about this
not?
guy, and it turns out Lilith hates him too, just as much.
And that says a lot.
He's in a wheelchair, which we don't find out right away. First, we find out what a scumbag he is. He's always trying to play
Con man.
con man. He's trying to play off people's sympathies, this and that. And
Bad guy.
so then we open the door, and he's in a wheelchair. So Frasier's like, "Oh, now what?" But of course, he thinks it's a big
It's a scam.
which in the end we may find something out about that. But this is.
All right, you know what I'll give you?
Tell me. Great ending.
Best Frasier ending.
I actually think it is the best Frasier ending.
Best final shot. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. Frasier's reaction is great.
And this goes through this episode. It goes through almost everything that makes Frasier great, because it goes through Frasier being odd man out. Everyone else saying, "Oh, don't you're being
go
too
this
harsh
way."
on him." Right, you need to start believing him. And of course, he's sticking to his guns. Most of the time, goes too far as always. But most of the time, he is in the wrong. And this episode, maybe not.
Maybe he's not in the wrong,
which is odd. That's
plays on it.
After 9 seasons,
You'd
we
expect,
kind of expect.
Frasier's gonna mess it up.
Frasier's being a jerk.
But maybe he's onto something this time.
Yeah. And I think this might be the same season as well with one of our least favorite episodes where they're stuck at the car garage, the toll plaza. And so, and in that one, it's very clear Frasier is in the wrong.
And it's weird
because goes way too far.
That sort of thing could have happened, but they went too far.
They made him too much of a jerk.
But just shooting some other ones out there, like the one where he tries to solve the murder with the friends. I like the one where he tries to get into a fight is classic.
With the bullies from school, the
bullies with the toilet, but also when the guy get the bar, stand up for yourself, and goes too far.
And a couple of ones with him and sort of misreading signals or not knowing how to end something or whatever.
The
friendship with the other guy in the wheelchair.
The fan.
The fan. That's where he
with the missing tape.
Oh God, that's a guest star too, Adam Arkin.
Oh yeah,
that's right. And then the guy you mentioned this one when we were watching him, Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball, where he does his apartment to look exactly like Frasier's.
That's a good one. And Cam Winston episodes.
Oh yes, the big rivalry. I think our favorite Cam Winston is the one where Martin becomes the figurehead of the apartment complex.
That was great.
And fights off Cam Winston in the presidential election. But yes. Anyway, so these are all great episodes that we've talked about. I think we've got a great list of the 10 best of Crane.
I think so.
I think if somebody wanted a primer in, what is Frasier about? I think
give them that list.
These are a great representation.
And I think that's kind of the best way to construct a list like this is what do you think best exemplifies the show? Because there's key elements of plot that you obviously wouldn't want people to watch first.
Right.
But if they liked these, you'll like the show.
Yeah, right. And like we mentioned, none of these are specific to Daphne and Niles' relationship,
or even to Martin's past, with the shooting episode, the backstory one's good. That's
good
dramatic.
too. Yeah,
with the when he meets the guy that shot
But
him.
This is a great representation of pretty much every character. We even see some psychic stuff with Daphne a little bit. We see Roz sort of doing her thing. We see Bulldog being a womanizer in the ham radio episode.
Get some of Gil being Gil.
We get Lilith.
The only thing you miss out on maybe
is Kenny.
Kenny.
Yeah, there's no Kenny.
And some BB, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do like BB.
She's got some great ones.
Yeah, she does. But yeah, I think this is a great primer. And maybe these aren't all the funniest.
No, maybe
some are
not.
very funny, but maybe they're not all the funniest. Maybe.
And to be honest, we did say that like if I had to pick one that had more dramatic elements, the 3-parter where Niles is in the hospital.
Yeah,
is
that's
legit
a really good one.
One of the best.
Yeah.
For more dramatic, but it is good.
Yeah.
I but we said
I told you couldn't do that.
Couldn't do that. Then we'll be here
3,
all night.
right,
We pick
3
all the
parts.
3-parters, 2-parters.
Yeah, we started this marathon at like 11:45 at night, so we were there till about 5. It was worth it.
It was a good time.
I actually really loved it.
No
yeah.
lie. I mean, whether we do it for the channel or not's fine, but I wouldn't mind.
We should probably make an annual event at the theater of
do one other 10
watching
Frasier.
10 of our favorites.
Do a
every
couple
year.
before we get sick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's it. We just sort of wanted to put a pin on our Frasier Fridays.
Because we just kind of ended that last episode.
Yeah, like the last few were over Zoom because of COVID. So
and I remember you weren't really in the mood that night. I think we were. It wasn't like
we didn't really give it a good series overview like we did with Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, I realized we did that. That was a good idea.
Know?
Yeah. So here's the extra 45 minutes from that
Yes.
old Zoom. So
Yes.
go back and watch it if you haven't already, and then watch Frasier. I'd say watch the episodes and then watch them and get a feedback, and that's a good way to do it. I think they're a good companion.
I do too.
Actually.
I do too. And we'd love to hear about your favorite Frasier episodes
Yeah,
too. So
comments,
let us know if you are a fan.
We missed it. Let us know.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Thanks so much as always for joining.
Yes,
and
thank you.
thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.